All right, I want to thank everybody for watching this short presentation on ways to handle challenging personalities. Um, this is based off our scenario in LTC on Appendix 5. This was the first scenario of that section, and I really thought that it highlighted kind of what we see a lot in today's interscholastic sports environment in terms of parents and how they act when it comes to their child and playing time. So, what we'll see here, and I'll flip back and forth between the presentation and the actual transcript. But what we see here is really a parent complaining about playing time in a variety of different manners. So here are the facts of the scenario. We have an angry parent. He comes in and is just really making a scene in the front office. Luckily, the athletic director hears it and takes her aside or takes him aside into their office. I think another important fact to point out is this person personally visits the school. They didn't call, they didn't email, but they actually showed up. I think that's a big deal. They're also loud, obnoxious. They're emotionally motivated. That's another thing to keep in mind here. So, emotionally, they probably are not thinking logically or rationally. They have one thing on their mind. We see a lot of name calling. I know in one particular instance, she referred to the coach as stupid. Essentially, this whole thing revolves around playing time. And then there's what this parent sees as a lack of communication from the coach, the athletic director, and their player. So I want to back out of this and let's go take a look at the actual text. So we're going to start right here on Appendix 5. So you can see right here the anger and the obnoxiousness with which this parent is addressing those in the school. Notice the calm display back from the AD. I think this line is actually very fascinating. I don't want excuses or cover-ups, meaning it seems like that there could possibly have been a perceived lack of information or knowledge about an activity that happened some time ago from this parent's perspective. You can see the loudness, the words that is being used as we go through here. Again, name calling with the coach. Notice how this parent gets, the athletic director finally walks her into what is going on, right? Basically, it's playing time. Why isn't he playing? He's practiced. He does his schoolwork. He never misses class. He's been on the team for 4 years, and he's never been in. She doesn't know, or the parent, rather, doesn't know much about these skills either. Because notice how the parent does not talk about the skill set other than he played middle school ball and he went to summer camps. So basically, he hasn't played for 4 years. Since 8th grade, he has not played many minutes. Notice how then she goes back to the communication piece. How this parent feels like there's been a lack of communication from the coach to the son, even probably from the athletic director as well. And then we get down to this part here, a senior, automatically assuming that a senior gets to play. And again, it's said here, play him. So a couple of things that we see from this as we switch back to our presentation. So all these facts here have been represented. We just showed you through that case. And so let's now move into the response that I would bring. So I think you see in that scenario where the athletic director is responding, you see a calmness, you see lots of questions. So I think the first thing that I would do, or that you have to do, is de-escalate the conflict. Meaning it's that soft, smooth tone of voice. You don't go at the person with the same vigor that they are, attacking you. Essentially, you have to be the bigger person, and you have to remain calm. And then you have to be empathetic. You have to understand where they're coming from. You have to see their side. If you can't do that, you're not going to be a good conflict manager. Especially as an athletic director, when parents are under the impression that their child is, perhaps better than what they really are, you have to see it from their perspective and then relate it to their perspective so that they can understand it. And then, some parents will be more open to that idea and others will not. You can't be condescending. So I thought in our scenario there that some of those questions seemed condescending. If you ask somebody, so it seems like you're telling me, and it looks like you're, based off of my understanding from this conference, I think some of that could get kind of condescending, right? We're all adults. We understand what each other is saying for the most part, and how that's being communicated. I think the point of that scenario was, though, that they're trying to increase the conversation and ask questions. I just think they need to ask better questions. I think those questions, again, can seem demeaning and condescending towards the person. So my next point there is ask more questions, right? You don't want to be the one talking. You need to let the parent or whoever it is talk more. You're there to listen. Again, that goes back to being empathetic. Using empathy is asking more questions. Obviously to understand the person's point of view, you got to ask questions. You can't assume. So, again, asking questions is imperative to resolving that conflict. And you're also going to think, and the person that you're talking to is going to think that you care about them. And it goes with our next bullet point here, which is talk less. Again, you're not there to hear yourself talk. You're not there to give your opinions until everything has been said, right? Talk less. This isn't, this is about what they feel and the perceived slight that they feel. Listen, use empathy, and react to that. One thing I would try to stay away from is giving solutions. Okay? Meaning, and this could probably be your last point, but as an official, there's a saying that, you give somebody a long enough rope that they'll end up hanging themselves on it. Right? So you don't want to talk, and this goes back to talking less, but you don't want to talk so much that you end up getting bit by your own words. So that's why I say refrain from giving a solution right there in this situation. Offer to meet, like I think the scenario did. Offer to get everybody together. But I would, in my opinion, I would refrain from saying, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is the steps we're going to take. Because you don't have all the sides. And that goes to the next point. You need to hear from the coach. You probably need to hear from the player. And trying to get in a picture here. You have one picture. You have one half of the painting right now. Or 1/3, rather, of the painting. You need the other 2/3 to really get a clear understanding. So you can't give a solution, in my opinion, until you have all sides of the story. So that's why I think, hearing the parent out, saying, I understand where you're coming from. I'd like to talk to the other people involved, including your son, and then let's all get together again. That's hearing both sides, and that shows the person that you have listened, that you care, and that you're doing what you can, and will do what you can to rectify the situation. But again, I think it all comes down to just being empathetic, right? Asking questions. You talk less. You try to understand where the person is coming from. see all the sides, and then make your conclusion. And that's how, as an athletic director, we should handle as much of the conflicts as we can using this method.